Some of you might remember my previous video about Operation Rock and the legend of the giant of Kandahar. That was a terrifying story about a battle against something that shouldn't exist. A military legend, whispered in dark forums. But strangely, there is another story. A story that also shares the same name, OP Rock. And this isn't the legend I was looking for. This is a first-hand testimony I found from a Marine veteran who experienced his first deployment there. Here is the story, told from his point of view. That was my first deployment in the Marine Corps. After months of grueling training, we were sent straight to Afghanistan. Our assignment was to take over a remote observation post atop a barren, rocky hill. A place that had only one name on the tactical map. OP Rock. OP Rock. Honestly, the place was a little hell on top of the world. It wasn't a proper military base. It was just a pile of sandbags and plywood on top of rocks. No beds. No permanent structures. We slept on the ground. Truly the most basic of standards. When we arrived, we replaced a British Army unit that had been there for months, and they looked destroyed. They looked messed up, exhausted, their eyes sunken, and they were really ready to go home. They even left their base dog there for us, a skinny female dog they called Ugly Betty. During the handover, the British sergeant leading the team gave us a brief briefing on patrols and Taliban threats, but right before their helicopter came to pick them up, he patted our sergeant, Green, on the shoulder. "One more thing," he said, his voice low and serious. "This place is weird. If you have to dig, make sure you put back whatever you find. Put it back where it belongs." We all looked at each other. Sergeant Green just nodded. Yeah, sure. We thought they were just joking, some kind of weird ritual to scare the new team. We didn't think much of it at the time. After the British soldiers left, we started setting up our post. We immediately realized one thing. The trenches they had made were very shallow, barely enough for cover if there was a mortar attack. We didn't understand why they, having been there for months, hadn't dug deeper. "Okay, team," said Sergeant Green. "We're not going to be like them. We're going to dig. Dig these trenches deeper and wider. We start now." So we started working. The ground there was hard as rock. We had to use our crowbars and e-tools repeatedly just to break a few inches of dry soil. I was digging in one corner of the trench when my shovel hit something hard. Not rock. A metallic clang sound was heard. I crouched down, brushing away the dust with my hands. It was some kind of old iron engineer stake. As I cleaned it further, I saw something that made my blood run a little cold. There was Russian Cyrillic writing on the side. "Hey, Sergeant, look at this." Sergeant Green came over and looked at it. "Hey, Soviet soldiers. They were here in the 82nds. That makes sense. This place is a strategic observation post. Of course, the Soviets used it too when they invaded Afghanistan. We considered it a cool historical find. Lance Corporal Smith, the troublemaker in our team, came to help me as we dug around the stake. Suddenly, the dirt wall beside us collapsed a little, revealing a small cavity. "Whoa, what's that?" said Smith. We started digging by hand. We found pieces of ceramics like old pottery or cups. We laughed. "Amazing," I said. We went from Marines to archaeologists. We kept digging, and then we found it. The object was protruding from the dry earth, ivory white in color. The shape was unmistakable. "Hey, Smith." Smith picked it up. It was a femur, clearly a human femur. Smith, with his dark sense of humor, started joking. He pretended the bone was a phone or used it like a baton. "Smith, stop it, man. That's disrespectful," shouted one of us. "Come on, he's dead. He doesn't care," said Smith, laughing. The sergeant finally told him to stop. "Seriously, Smith, put that thing back," he said. "We're here to work." We all felt a little creeped out. We became more careful while digging, and that's when we realized. Wherever we dug, we found more bones. Ribs, skull fragments, vertebrae, all mixed up. They were everywhere. Only then did we realize. Only then did the British soldiers' warning from that morning make sense. We realized why they didn't want to dig deeper. We were building our defensive post right on top of a mass grave. Realizing that we were resting and digging trenches on top of a mass grave of Russian soldiers changed everything. Our dark humor vanished instantly. We quickly reburied the bones, saying brief apologies in our hearts, and trying to forget about it. We tried to convince ourselves that the British soldiers' warning was just a coincidence. We were dead wrong. That night was the first night the real horror began. I was on guard duty at the machine gun post, alone. OP Rock was at the top of a hill, so in theory, we could see for miles in every direction. But that night was different. There was a strange silence. Not just quiet, it was a deadly silence. Growing up in the countryside, I was used to nature sounds at night. Crickets, owls, anything. At OP Rock that night, there was nothing. It was as if all life on that hill was holding its breath along with us. I sat there, scanning the darkness with night vision goggles, NVG. I felt an increasingly uneasy feeling. The feeling that I was being watched. The feeling was so strong that the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Suddenly, I heard it. A scream. A bone-chilling scream coming from the darkness outside our barbed wire perimeter. It wasn't an animal scream. It was a human scream, full of suffering. I immediately aimed my machine gun towards the sound. My heart was pounding fast. "Sergeant!" I shouted over the radio. "I hear screaming outside the wire." "Do you see anything?" replied Sergeant Green. His voice was tense. "Negative. Nothing on NVG, but I heard it. I saw something move right at the edge of my vision. A shadow moving fast between the rocks. I see movement outside the perimeter. Someone is trying to infiltrate." We went on full alert. We thought this was a Taliban attack trying to lure us out. Sergeant Green and a few other Marines came out of the command post, weapons cocked, ready for battle. We swept the area with flashlights and thermal optics, looking for signs of the enemy. Nothing. We returned to the post confused. Sergeant Green looked at me. "Are you sure about what you heard, Marine?" "Positive, Sergeant. That was a scream." He just nodded slowly. His face looked worried. In the morning, when the sun rose, my battle buddy Parker and I went out to check the area outside the wire. We looked for footprints, shell casings, anything. We didn't find a single thing. No boot prints, no animal tracks. The dry and rocky ground seemed untouched, as if whatever I heard and saw that night left no physical trace. That's when I started thinking, maybe this wasn't the Taliban. The longer we were there, the strange occurrences happened more often and became more personal. A few nights later, I was on guard at the same post. That night was very hot and stifling. No wind at all. Suddenly, I felt a bone-chilling cold run down my back, as if someone opened a refrigerator door right behind me. I turned around quickly. No one was there. Then I felt it. Something breathing on my cheek. A puff of warm air that smelled foul, like grave soil. And then a whisper was heard right in my ear. It wasn't English. It was a harsh and heavy language. It sounded like Russian. I jumped from my seat, almost dropping my rifle, and shouted. Smith ran to my post. "What's wrong? Did you see something?" Someone whispered in my ear. Smith looked at me as if I had gone crazy, but he didn't laugh. "Not anymore." That was nothing yet. Things started to move. One night, I heard a crack sound right above me. The sound of gravel being stepped on the roof of our post made of plywood. I thought it was Smith joking again. I ran out to catch him. No one was there. Our command post was underground, but its roof was level with the hill ground. Someone, or something, had just walked on my roof. I grabbed my thermal scope, scanning the area above the post. No heat signature, empty. Then I saw it. A figure standing in the darkness. The shape was human-like, but wrong. Its arms and legs looked too long, and its fists were clenched tight. "Stop! Show yourself!" I shouted. I aimed my M4 at it, ready to shoot. I looked through my sights, then looked again through thermal, then back to sights, and the figure was gone. Vanished just like that. I started thinking I was going crazy. Stress, lack of sleep, heat, everything piling up. I was the only one experiencing these things directly. Until one day, Damien, not his real name, requested a transfer. Damien was a tough Marine, not the type to get scared easily. But one morning he went to Sergeant Green, his face pale as a ghost. "Sergeant, I request a transfer to anywhere. I don't want to be at this post anymore." Sergeant Green was confused. "What's wrong, Damien? Taliban bothering you?" Damien shook his head. "No, Sergeant, this place. Something is wrong with this place. I can't. I don't want to be here anymore." He was transferred a few days later. We all considered him a coward. We mocked him for playing the crazy card to get out of duty. We only realized a few days later that Damien was probably the sanest person among us. After Damien left, it was my turn to experience it. This was the moment that changed everything for me. It was around 2:30 a.m. I was at the machine gun post again. The night was very dark. Suddenly, Ugly Betty, the dog we took care of, started barking like she was possessed in one direction in the darkness. She wasn't just barking, she was howling. The fur on her back stood straight up. I immediately lifted my NVG and I saw it. Far in the distance, maybe 300 to 400 meters. A shadow figure standing still, staring straight at our post. Damn it, I thought. Taliban scout. I grabbed my thermal scope to confirm. I scanned the area where the figure was standing. Empty. Nothing. No heat signature at all. Impossible, I muttered. I switched back to my NVG. I looked at the same spot, and my heart felt like it stopped. The figure had now moved 100 meters closer. In just seconds, he teleported, and he was still standing there, staring straight at me. I was truly terrified. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't shoot something that didn't exist on thermal. Suddenly, I felt a tap on my right shoulder. Twice. Tap, tap. It was Sergeant Green's signature signal, a tap to let us know he was behind us checking the post. I felt a little relieved. I wasn't alone. Sergeant, you see that? I said quietly, my eyes still fixed on the figure in the distance. No answer. I turned my head. No one was there. Sergeant Green wasn't there. My post was empty. I was alone. I had just been touched by a ghost. I realized Damien wasn't crazy. We were all in great danger. This wasn't about the Taliban anymore. This was about the cursed place we dug up. After that night, everything went chaotic. The whole team started feeling strange things. Smith, the skeptic, heard heavy footsteps behind him on patrol. Parker felt a cold breath on his neck. We all heard those whispers. We realized we weren't alone on that hill. Our last night at OP Rock was the climax. We were all packed, ready to be replaced by a new unit the next morning. We were just counting the hours. That night, our radios started acting up. Batteries died one by one. Sergeant, the last battery is dead, said our radio operator. I've changed it twice. It still dies within 10 minutes. Damn, cursed Sergeant Green. That means we're cut off. We were isolated. No communication to main base. Exactly at that moment, hell broke loose. Suddenly, from the darkness outside the perimeter came the sound of machine gun fire. Not one, maybe 3 or 4. The sound of PKM fire. Typical Russian. Bullets seemed to whiz right over our heads. Attack! Shouted Sergeant Green. We all jumped into the trenches, our hearts pounding fast, returning fire towards the enemy muzzle flashes we couldn't see. Then the machine gun fire stopped and was replaced by a terrifying thump-whoosh sound, the sound of a rocket-propelled grenade or RPG being fired. An explosion shook the ground near us. RPG! We're under massive attack! We fought blindly for nearly 5 minutes. We emptied magazines into the darkness, threw grenades. We all thought this was the end. We would die on top of this cursed grave. Then, just as it started, everything stopped. Silence. A deadly silence. We waited, trembling in our trenches. We waited for the next wave of attack, but nothing came. After 10 minutes that felt like forever, Green gave the signal. Okay, check the perimeter. Careful. We turned on our flashlights, moved slowly. We checked the barbed wire. Nothing was cut. We checked the ground. No footprints, no enemy shell casings, no RPG explosion marks. Nothing. Whatever just attacked us, it wasn't real. It was a ghost attack. A supernatural audio attack. The entity in that place had just played a battle simulation in our heads. We didn't sleep that night. We just sat silently in our trenches waiting for sunrise. When our replacement helicopter finally arrived, we ran to it. The feeling of relief as we left that cursed hill is indescribable. We made it. We survived. At least that's what we thought. We all moved on with our lives, finished our deployment, went back home. We tried to forget what happened at OP Rock. A few years later, the tragedy began. I heard the first news. One of our teammates died in a strange car accident. Drunk, they said. Even though he wasn't a heavy drinker. A year later, another one drowned while fishing. He was an excellent swimmer. Then another. A ridiculous hunting accident. One by one, members of the OP Rock team started dying in strange accidents that made no sense. It felt like a military version of the Final Destination movie. I don't know for sure what happened to everyone. I've lost contact with most of them. But of the 8 people in our team that night, I know only 3 of us are still alive. We thought we had left OP Rock. But it seems whatever we dug up on that hill, whatever we disturbed, never really let us go. A truly terrifying story. I don't know for sure. the final fate of the Marine veteran who told that story, or his two remaining comrades. The story stops there, hanging in fear. What I find most interesting is how two very different but equally dark legends could be born from the same place and have the same name, OP. In my previous video, we discussed Operation Rock as a legend of special forces fighting against a physical monster, the Giant of Kandahar. Something they could see, shoot with a Barrett rifle, and eventually kill. Terrifying, of course. But the story we just heard, this is something else. This isn't about a physical monster. This is about an invisible curse tied to a mass grave. Something you can't shoot. Something that can teleport, whisper Russian in your ear, and launch supernatural audio attacks. Something that kills you slowly from thousands of kilometers away, long after you think you're safe. It's hard to say which is more frightening. This proves one thing we often forget. War isn't just about physical battles against visible enemies. Sometimes there are ancient and dark things disturbed by the stomp of boots, things you can't fight with rifles. And sometimes, war itself creates its own ghosts that keep following the soldiers, even long after they go home. This proves that sometimes, the scariest enemies aren't the ones holding guns. Do you believe in the curse of OP Rock? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And if you have any requests for other dark history stories, mysteries, or true crime cases you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave a comment. See you in the next story.